right, welcome to another episode of the Dyna-Mic Duo. As always, I am your host, ChopperFett, and with me is my co-host and partner in crime, Fletch Dyna. How's it going, Fletch?
Very good, thanks. Hello, everyone. I'm Fletch, and we're here on episode 3. I almost forgot that I thought it was episode 4. That's how far we are, or we think we are ahead of ourselves. Welcome to episode 3. And today we have a very special guest, and we have Scouse Adventures joining us today. How are you, Scouse?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the show. Really appreciate inviting me in. Thanks very much.
Excellent.
Of course, man. You are, at least for me, you're the one who kind of gave me my first quote-unquote break. I think I was at like 85 subscribers one night. You said, hey, come join my live stream. And sure enough, it's because of you, everyone can see this face now. So you got me to that 100 subs. You got me to that face reveal. So it's all because of your live stream that kind of kickstarted. You got me into the support MVC. So it's all because of you. So we thought, who better guest to have on for our first show than the guy who kind of broke me, I guess. So
wow.
So glad to have you on, man.
Yeah, no, thanks very much, mate. That means a lot to hear somebody say that. That's pretty cool. It puts a bit of subsistence into why we all do what we do. To be fair,
Exactly. I think, folks, if you haven't yet been or known about Scouse Adventures, please go ahead and check him out. We put in the cards above and the descriptions below. He has a lot of videos out there on various topics, and of course a lot of his rides as well. But what would be good is if you could go out and check out his live streams as well. And one of the reasons is we think so highly of him is because we appreciate the effort that he's put into, because in his live streams he's pushed out and helped a lot of growing channels, and we really, really appreciate that, Scouse. So why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourselves and a little bit about your site and your channel?
Yeah, sure thing, man. So I started moto vlogging probably, I'm going to say about 2 years ago, about 3 years ago actually it was. Right. And the reason I started getting into it is because I went to Deadwood in just outside Sturgis, and I took my parents down there, and I'd always liked bikes. I'd always had bikes in the UK and stuff like that. But when I came over here to Canada, I didn't have a bike at the time. And I took my dad to Deadwood because he was a mad Wild West fan, and obviously Deadwood was where Wild Bill was shot and killed, and Calamity Jane, and just so happened that we timed it that it was at the end of the Sturgis motorcycle rally, and when we didn't know at the time, when we got down there, I was like, wow, there's a lot of bikes, there's loads of bikes here, and obviously we didn't know, so I was like, why is there like thousands of bikes? And then we got talking to all the guys, and obviously, they said, oh, it's the biggest motorcycle rally in the world. Sturgis is literally around the corner. I was like, what? And obviously, at that point, I turned around to my missus, my wife, and said, I'm going to come back here in a year on my own bike. And I did. I ended up coming back, getting a bike, because I got the itch again. I ended up getting a bike, which is the Boulevard, the blue Suzuki Boulevard C50, and I absolutely love that bike. And, it took me, when we went back a year later, it was literally a 3,500 k round trip from where I live up in Alberta. But it was worth every sore ass of the way. It was fantastic. So that's how I got back into biking, really. And from there, I graduated to that thing behind me. I didn't get bored of the Suzuki. I got a bit it was like a scab. When you got a scab and it's itchy, sure. You want to peel it off. And that's what it was with Harley-Davidson for me. And when I saw that, the Sportster up for sale, I thought, man, I've got to have that. I've got to have it. And, the guy was interested in doing a swap for the Boulevard. And I put a lot of time and effort into that bike. And it was, I was sad to see it go until I got on that. And the first time I rode that, I thought, yeah, you've made the right choice here, man. And I was off. So yeah, that's and like I said, I've been doing the channel for probably about 3 years now, and the live streams just one day the channels you may not know live streams that you guys have seen me do. I was just sat there and I thought to myself, nobody's actually everybody's sort of doing their own live streams about themselves and just talking about just everyday stuff and bikes and blah blah blah. So I was sat there one day and I thought, you know what, if I did a thing called channels you may not know, I wonder how many people would actually come on and appreciate it if, instead of me trying to spread the love of my own channel,
Right.
I thought, well, let's spread the love with everybody and see how we get on. And it was an absolute hit with everybody. Everybody that came on to them absolutely loved it. And when my computer was actually working, I could run, it properly. But my computer's on its last leg. So once I get that fixed, I'll be able to start doing the channels you may not know at live streams again. Because I got to episode 4, and I showcased loads, hundreds of motor vloggers that people didn't know about, and like you said before, Chopper, the sort of the after effects of me doing that has grown into something completely different, and everybody's saying, "Oh, mate, it was fantastic, thanks very much," and it's sort of become a thing of helping everybody in the community, and that's what it's all about, man. It's not about me, it's not about my bike, it's not about my channel, it's about helping everybody in the community to get, because I've been there, I was sat at 100 subs, less than 100 subs for months and months and months and months. And, I wish there was somebody that could, look at this guy, go and check his channel out, and, so on and so forth. So that's how I come up with it. And I'm so glad that it came off and it worked, so that's it, man.
Speaking of that, the show that you put on, I think, quote me if I'm wrong, Flex, but I think that's where I actually met you for the first time, was inside of that live stream. I think up until that point, I had no idea who you were. Did you subscribe to me? I subscribed back to you. And then after that, we started hitting each other in live streams all the time. So not only are you responsible for channel growth, you're responsible for, also making like new friendships for everyone else around the world.
Brilliant.
I mean, look at this live stream. You got America, you got Canada, you got Singapore. I mean, how awesome is that 3 international countries are together with one common interest? I mean,
exactly, mate. Yeah. And that's why, listening to people say that type of thing makes me feel good, and I did it unintentionally to the beginning. I thought, right, let's give this a whirl. But like I said, it's grown arms and legs, and it's just kept going, man. And once the computer gets fixed again, I can start doing them again, So, yeah, I've enjoyed doing it.
I think a lot of people appreciate it in the community, and like Brett said, if it weren't for you, I would have met ChopperFett, right? We couldn't got married, and then now we're doing this video call. No, we're missed. His wife is going to be pissed because I'm taking a lot of his time as well.
She's watching Star Wars. We're good.
Yeah,
so, I know that feeling. Jeez.
I know. So we formed a lot of bonds and everything else because of your live stream, and I think we've gotten to know so many people, and I think that's the most beautiful part about your live streams. But I think going back to your channel and the rides and things that you've done, and then specifically, of course, the bike that you have behind you, the Sportster. I think, Brett, you have a Sportster, right?
I do. My wife has a 2006 Sportster 883, which was sold to us with the intention of having a 1200, but there's no way that thing's got the 1200 upgrade. And it's kind of a dog off the line, but dude, miles per miles, they're the same as my Dyna is, that's for sure.
Wow.
And that's true. I owned an A83R. It was a 2004, and I think that's the topic for today in a sense. That it's going to be about the Sportsters and things that you've done. And maybe, Scouse, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've done with the Sportster? What sort of Sportster do you have?
Yeah, sure, man. So it's a 1999 Evo engine. Started life out as a A83, and the guy that I bought it off obviously spent an absolute fortune on it and doing, making the bike his own. And but yeah, he started out life as an 883, and he had it bored out to a 1200. So it's actually got a 1200 kit in it, and it goes like it's a 1200. I tell you that. That's why I call it the Spitfire, because it shifts. It goes. But like you see behind me, it didn't have the apes on it. It didn't have the short shots on it, and the seat and stuff like that. I mean, I've not done too much to it because it didn't need too much doing to it. But when I first got it, it had I think it was the Bisano Slashdown exhaust, I think it was on it. But like they come sort of out there and just went down, and they were very short. And what I found was when I was riding the bike, it was burning my leg So my jeans were actually, melting to the side of the exhaust. I was like, oh man, this isn't good. So I thought to myself, right, let's wrap it. So I did a video of how to wrap your Sportster exhaust, and I wrapped the exhaust, and it worked great. It was fine. It didn't burn my leg anymore, but there was just something I didn't like about the look of them. And it just didn't look right, if you know what I mean. And I thought to myself, I want a new exhaust. So I ended up buying the Vance & Hines short shots and putting it onto the bike, and it just makes the bike look completely different, and it sounds just as good as it did, but if not better, and it just looks better, and the noise out of it now, and the fact it gives it that little bit extra off the line, and like I said before, she goes now, man, she's rapido, as we say back in Liverpool. But like, I always wanted a bike where I could sit, with a set of apes or get a set of apes on it. So I found the apes were for sale for $10 around the corner from me. So I was like, I've got to have the apes. Come here, it's only mini apes, So I said to the guy, how much do you want for them, mate? He's like, $10. It was at like a garden sale, like a garage sale. $10. I was like, yep, sold. I expected them to say like $60, $70, $100 or whatever. $10. I was like, yeah, mate, I'll have them. Thanks very much. So I did that myself. I did the whole. I priced it up with Harley-Davidson. They wanted $1,000 plus to do it. So I sat down. I did a bit of research and stuff, and I thought to myself, I can do that. It seems pretty difficult, but I reckon I could do it. And I did it. And I got the Burley kit for it, for the obviously all the wiring and the cables and stuff like that, and it worked out well, mate. And when you do something the first time, you sit on the bike and you think, right, is this going to work? So I sat on the bike with everything done. I was like, please work. I've put too much effort into this for it not to work. And I sat on it. I checked one indicator working, another indicator working. I thought, yes, press the brake. I had my lad behind me. He's like, yeah, Dad, it's working. I was like, sweet. Press the other one. Yeah, it's working. It's like, thank God for that. And the moment of truth is when you start, you put the thingy on to start, and it just fired up straight away. And I was like, thank God for that. And, the good thing about it was with the winters over here in Alberta, I had time to do it all over the winter, and it was like getting a new bike, and when you first have it, I rode around with it before I did everything to it, and literally when I pulled it out the garage when spring came, it was like riding a whole new bike, man. It was brilliant, and I was so glad that I did it myself. And it makes you, it makes you feel good that I've put this bike the way I want it, and I did it myself. I didn't pay the garage to do it, so it was cool, man, and I love it, absolutely love it.
It's sharp, man. I'm digging those eights. I'm thinking, what are they, about shorter height for you?
Yeah, mate, they are. Yeah, they're bang on, literally bang on. Perfect height.
Scouse, you mentioned earlier about changing the pipes, right? Did you have to change? Did you have to retune anything?
No, because it's a carb. It's an Evo engine. I didn't have to do anything for it. So ordinarily, you'd have to buy. If it was the fuel injected, and you'd have to buy the ECU. You'd have to buy the pack that retunes it for you, or get somebody to do it. But no, because it's an Evo, mate, it didn't need anything. It literally, when I first fired it up, it spluttered a tiny little bit, but then she got used to the new pipes, and then away we go. So
Flex, was yours carb?
No, mine was EFI.
See, we got a carb here, and they just sound. There's something about the sound of that. Yeah. And then when you put the choke in, and the idle just drops even more. It's like like that sounds better than my '96 twin cam. I mean, it's an itty bitty motor, but it sounds so much better. I mean,
no, I agree.
There's something about carbureted bikes.
I totally agree. I mean, mine was an EFI. I think it was the first EFI. I think they introduced it in 2003, and 2003 onwards were EFIs. So I was dumb enough to get an EFI one. And when I changed mine to Pythons, right, which was really insane anyway, it's pretty loud, I literally had to put in a tuner pack inside to do all the mapping and everything else. And that's probably what we would suggest to those lads out there who have a Sportster and have an EFI. If you go stage 1, it's always pretty good to be able to put on a tuner so that you have better performance as well. Otherwise, then you have consumption problems and other performances problems as well. Yeah. So what else have you done on your bike?
So when I first got it, the seat was like sitting on a rock. It was awful, absolutely awful. So everywhere I went, I was like an old man. When I got off, I was like, "Oh my god, this is killing me. I can't do this anymore." So again, I thought, right, over the winter, I'll save some cash and I'll buy myself a Mustang seat, because I had a Mustang seat on the Suzuki,
Right.
and it was by far it was amazing. It was so comfortable. So yeah, I bought the Solo Mustang seat, and man, it makes such a difference. It really does, and it's really comfortable. It took a while to break in, but once it's broken, it's great. What else did I do? I put the TC Bros sissy bar on the back. Mm-hmm. It's just it's just a normal one that goes up the back, but it just sits. I didn't want a second seat on it because it's a custom fender on the back. There was no hole to put the screw in. So even if I wanted to put a seat on, I couldn't unless I drilled it and stuff. But I didn't want to go down that route. So I thought to myself, I want something to set the back off, just to give it that it looks right now with it on. Whereas before it looked like there was just something missing, and it was a sissy bar. So when I was looking, an anonymous biker USA said to me, "Mate, you should try TC Bros. Check them out. They're pretty good for the sissy bars, like custom sissy bars." So yeah, well, I'll give it a whirl, man. And I found the exact one I wanted, so I bought that and put it on. So and that's about it, really. That's the only thing I've done with and I changed the bulb. I put an LED bulb in it.
Of course, that's the most important thing.
That was massively, and that's about it, really. I didn't, like I say, you can see there. He's the guy before me spent an absolute fortune. I mean, what he said to me, that the tires, the wheels alone, because they're custom cut wheels, was $6,000. So I was like, what? So I didn't need to do much to it, and the only thing I did do was put the sticker on the side, the Harley-Davidson sticker, because it didn't have anything on it to say it was a Harley-Davidson.
Right.
Everybody knew it was a Harley, but I thought, right, I'll find a cheap alternative. So I got the stickers made, and it just sets it off, mate, really. So, yeah, like I said, it didn't need too much doing to it, but I wanted to make it my own, so I did.
I was lucky.
I mean, it's great because, like you were saying on those machine cut wheels there. I mean, see, they have like some flame on them, and then it ties it in. I mean, I'm usually not a fan of flame paint jobs, but there's just sometimes when they're done right, and it looks like that's what the previous owner did, because he had the flame paint job, whether that was custom. I'm assuming Harley didn't make that, but the way he tied in with the wheels and everything, it brings it all together, and then your added touch to it as well to make it your own, because now it is your own, because it's completely different stance than when you got it. So
exactly, really, and awesome. You don't see many sporties looking like that. I don't think so.
Ours looks fairly stock.
Yeah. But the good stock as well, man. That it doesn't, it's just basically dressed up. It's still good bike, man. You know what I mean? So
exactly,
the great bikes, girls' bikes.
Yeah, girls' bikes. Yeah.
Girls' bikes.
Actually, the video I filmed a few weeks ago is after I did the review. I was like, well, I'm gonna take the Sportster out again, and so I started kind of thinking about you and your Sportster. I was like, man, people who say this is a girls' bike are the people who've never ridden this bike, because there's just something about the maneuverability of it, right? Because Harley doesn't make a sports bike. Well, they kind of made the mules, whatever that was. But I mean, when you flip this thing around a twisty road, like I go around my lake road, I would say I'm probably a minute quicker going around the lake road on the Sportster than I am on my Dyna, just because the Dyna has to slow way down, whereas the Sportster is just like, I don't want to slow down at all. It's an amazing piece of machinery, and it's 60 years old. I mean, kind of,
Yeah,
that's
you're right.
Yeah. I mean, they've been dialing it in for 60 years. So if they ever do actually end up discontinuing it, which they might, I know the Evo's on its possible way out with that 1250 that they have coming out, or 950. But it'll be a sad day, the day that the Sportster leaves Harley-Davidson.
Yeah, it's definitely a classic. Definitely a classic, that's for sure.
Yeah. I think the Sportsters as well is, a lot of times we know for sure that you could do it on, because it's so nimble, you could take it on the road to towns and go shopping, bar hopping and everything else. But I think a lot of people don't realize that it's also a touring machine, right? It depends on how you set it up. So I'm sure you've done some long distance trips on your Sportster, right, Scouse?
Do you know what, mate? I did have a plan to go down to the Beartooth Pass this year, but obviously with this, the dreaded C word going on at the minute, then no. But I have spent like 8 hours in the saddle on the bike, you know, so I just constantly go and obviously stopping for fuel and stuff. But yeah, it's funny you say that, because when I got rid of the Boulevard, which was a touring bike, my missus said to me, "Why are you buying that? You'll never ever be able to go anywhere on that apart from round town." I was like, "You're so wrong. You're so wrong." You know, and I will literally go through pain to sit on that for as far as I can, you know, because I love riding it, and it is pretty comfortable. It does get a bit after a while, but you know, it is what it is. And everyone said, "Do you want to get some bags for it?" And I was like, "Well, no, not really, because if I want a bag, I'll just stick it to the sissy bar, put some bungees on it, and away we go, you know, like old school." So, but yeah, I'll definitely, regardless of how far, I'll ride to Sturgis on that. I don't care. I'll do a 3,500 k road trip on it. Doesn't bother me.
Right,
it probably will do the other end.
Right. Yeah. We hope we all can do something like that as well. For those who have Sportsters out there, and you've done a lot of long rides now on those Sportsters, what would you recommend for someone to do to make it a little bit more comfortable to go on long rides?
Definitely. The first thing, get a seat. Spend the money or save some money up and buy a good seat, because without that good seat, everything else will not work, and you'll get off the bike at the other end like an old man, like a 70-year-old man. But because, you know, the posture when you sat on that bike all starts with your butt, and if your butt's not comfortable, it just goes up. You know, it'll go into your spine and it'll go into your shoulders, and then you'll be like, "Oh my god, this is awful." So if you're gonna do it, get a good seat, get a decent seat, you know, and spend the money, because let's be honest, you spend the money on a good seat, it's going to be worth it.
Yep, and I think that's why we started with episode 1 being about seats, because, I mean, the most important part of the bike is, you know, supporting your buttocks, as a sports stump would say.
Yes, sir. Bit me directly in the buttocks.
So, I mean, you have a Mustang seat, which is, I think, what Fletch is running as well. So, you know, that seems to be a good brand. We know Saddlemen, Lucky Days, those are all like the premium brands, and really, I don't think you can go wrong with any brand. I don't have anything against Mustang. I just happen to like Saddlemen because that style fits me, right?
Yeah.
So, just as long as you don't just cheap out like I did and buy a $60 stock seat, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. So.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's sorry.
I think it's good to have a good set of handlebars as well. You know, like that's why I got the apes, because you're sitting comfortable. Whereas beforehand I was sort of sitting forward, and I used to get a sore back and stuff like that. So as long as you're upright and you're good, like you know, you're level with your things, it's always going to be a comfortable ride, man. You know.
Exactly.
Did he do any sort of a rear suspension work to it before you got it, or is it stock shot?
No, he's dropped it. He's dropped it quite a bit, and I think when you see the first time I go out and the first video I did, I hit a pothole and I was like, "Oh my god!" It's definitely a hardtail, but it's not a hardtail. You know what I mean?
You're probably like, "Oh, the wife is right. I won't be able to go wrong."
Exactly. Yeah, the first time, normally I just ride over and no drama, but oh man, I was like, I was like, right, need a new seat.
I call that the Harley groan, because no matter. You see it coming, it's like, and then you get the tunnel vision, like, yep, I see that, I see it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just the worst thing.
Yeah, then it goes up your body, up your whole body, and back down again. You're like,
oh, like, why is my arm tingling now?
Yeah, exactly, man.
Would you consider changing your suspensions, though?
See, do you know what, mate? As you can see, the front end is raked out, so it's quite far out of the front. So I don't think I'd change the front end. You know, I'd leave it as it is. But would I change the suspension on the back? Probably not, because I like the way it sits. I like the comfort on it now that I'm used to it.
Oh, okay.
And it sits quite low, you know, so it looks pretty cool as well. So I don't know, maybe if it hadn't had them on before I bought it, then yeah, I probably would change them to what's on there now. But yeah, probably not, mate. I'm happy with the way it is now, you know. So don't change a good thing.
It's not stock, right?
No, it's not stock. They're definitely not stock. I don't know what brand's on the back, but they're definitely not stock.
Right.
Definitely not.
All right, so we talked earlier about the persona of the Sportster being a girl's bike. I mean, personally, I have one. Well, my wife does, so I guess that makes it a girl's bike. But you'll find me out on there if my bike's blocked in and I can't get mine out easily. I'll take hers out, and I don't care what I look like. I'm a 6'2", 350-pound guy on a Sportster. I mean, you can make it work. The way that we have her bike raised back up, we got forwards on it, we got a seat that pushes me back. It's great. So, what's the persona where you guys are? Because obviously the states are Bagger Bro City, geezer guys. I mean, you look down the street, 20-year-olds are on baggers. It's just like, come on, guys. Where's the old school look? Where's the old school love? But what about you guys? Like in Canada, is the Sportster looked down on? Because around here, it's make sure you're strong, because if you get in a fight about a Sportster, you better win. So.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, mate. I think it's a geographical thing for me. I mean, I haven't seen both sides of, in the UK and North America. And I think, like you say, the North American side of life is, like you say, baggers and geezer glides and all that type of thing. And I get why they do it, because they have to travel long distances sometimes, or, most of the time to go, the lads go touring all up and down North America, which, if, I do as well, but I do it on the Sportster. But I think it's, for me, back in the UK, obviously, being from the UK, having seen the other side of it, is in the UK, I think because of the small vicinity of the roads, everything's a lot more compact. You could get from one end of the country to the other in 12 hours. So it's a smaller setup, but there is thousands and thousands and thousands of men, barely blokes like me, riding a Sportster back in the UK. And I think it's you don't get the whole girls bike thing back in the UK. I think it's something that's come from North America, and it's starting to migrate around the rest of the world for whatever reason. I mean, like I say, back in the UK, there's a group called Sportster Sickness UK, and they've got just alone in their group nearly 10,000 people, who all ride sporties, So, and they do a massive meetup every year back in the UK, and there's like 10,000 people plus turn up, every single one of them riding a Sportster, So, like I say, I think it's a geographical thing. I mean, I've always loved them, and maybe that's because I'm from the UK and I've seen that side of it. But definitely in North America, there's definitely a complex of it being a girls' bike.
Oh, that's the thing, and that's what's nice about the channels that we have, is you have the ability to say Sportsters aren't girls' bikes; they are actually really cool. Because I think what is it, Road Rash? He just picked up a 1200 iron, and
yeah, he did, yeah. Yeah.
Yep, and he's already starting to do long travels on it. So, obviously the Sportster is still a selling motorcycle in the U.S., otherwise they would have discontinued it. And it can't just be all females buying it. So like, I know there's got to be some sort of underground clique of Sportster owners in the United States. I just haven't found them yet.
Yeah, exactly.
I think if you're talking about Sportster owners here in Singapore, it's exactly the same as in the UK. I think it's even more compact, because we're talking about 74 kilometers by 34 kilometers. That's how big Singapore is, right?
It's crazy,
all city. And if you got a bagger, you're stuck in traffic. You can't even get out of the car park sometimes. I think it's that bad. So the Sportster is pretty good bike to be having here in a place like this. And we actually also have the Sportster owner group over here, and they're 2,000 strong for such a small city, Wow. And I used to be a member of that as well, having a Sportster as well. So they have a lot of meetups, and these guys literally take their Sportsters every year, at least twice a year, to Thailand. So from Singapore to Thailand, and specifically Phuket, which is about 1,600 kilometers one way, right? So that works out to be, 1,000 miles?
Roughly, yeah.
Roughly,
right?
yeah. They're about.
So imagine they're on their bikes for 1,000 miles, and those are just Sportsters, mind you. Right.
It goes back to the old adage: doesn't matter what you ride as long as you ride.
Exactly.
That's
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I mean, the fact that you said you took that Suzuki to Sturgis, right? That you had originally. So I've never been to Sturgis, especially during rally time. How were you received on a Suzuki at something that's predominantly Harley-Davidson?
Do you know what? It's funny you say that. I went down there, and as soon as I ate the Sturgis or the Deadwood, South Dakota city limits or state limits, I strapped a massive Union Jack flag to the back of my Suzuki, and I drove everywhere in Sturgis in South Dakota with this massive Union Jack flag flying. So everywhere I went, everybody was like looking at me anyway. So it's like either they're looking at me or looking at the flag or looking at the bike. I don't know but to be fair, nobody said, oh, you've only driven a Suzuki. Nobody cared. You know, there was people down here with Suzukis, there's people down there with Triumphs, there's people down there with Harleys, obviously. There was people down there with Indians. There was all sorts of bikes, and nobody cared what you were riding. I mean, obviously, you know, from what I saw, there is people probably down there like, you're driving a Suzuki, whatever, you know, you shouldn't be here. Well, no, I should be here because it doesn't matter what you ride, as long as you ride, you know, so...
Right.
It's not a Harley-Davidson rally, it's a motorcycle rally. It shouldn't matter. I mean,
correct.
Again, I'm sure there was even sport bikes there, too. Truck rockets. I'm sure
there was.
Some.
Yeah, there was, mate. Everything. You name it, it was there. There was even quads.
What about mopeds?
Yeah, mopeds. I've seen a couple of guys on mopeds.
Mopeds. Nice.
Like Vespas, like old school Vespas with all the lights on the front and stuff. There was loads of them. It's crazy, man. But yeah. So yeah, big Union Jack flying. That went down well.
I'm sure the British are coming. The British are coming.
Exactly, especially by Mount Rushmore. When I went to Mount Rushmore, big Union Jack flying. Hey ho.
Any plans on making another Sturgis run?
Maybe, mate. Yeah, I'd love to go back. I mean, I think this time round, we'll probably go down as a pack of us, to be fair, like maybe 10 or so bikes. Last time it was just me and my mate Kev, and unfortunately he had a blowout on the way down there and he had to leave his bike just outside Mile City. So he actually went to Sturgis in the car while I rode around on my own. It was awful. So we've got the plan to do it again just for Kev's sake, really, so he can actually say he's rode around Sturgis on his bike. So, but yeah, definitely I will go back. It won't be this year because obviously with the C word and that, but it definitely won't be this year. But I will. I'd love to go back. It was cool. You've got to do it at least once.
Yeah.
You and Kev didn't want to chew up it the rest of the way in?
Oh no!
I did ask him. I did ask him that, and if you watch my Sturgis video, you'll see me saying to him, "Mate, do you want to just get in the back?" He's like, "No, mate. No, that's just gay." So like,
Oh my god!
That reminds me of the picture. There's like a picture of like these two like burly looking biker guys, and you know, obviously one of the guys had a breakdown, and so the one guy's riding the forward way, the other guy's sitting back to back on this guy. Just, you know, it's like, our junk ain't touching each other this way.
Yeah, not happening.
Oh my god! Scouse, since you've done quite a bit on your bike and especially the Sportster, for the Sportster owners out there, what would you suggest, what would you suggest that could be done on the bike to make it look good or make it perform better if they haven't done so? Say you have a stock Sportster, what would you suggest a Sportster owner to do to improve the ride?
Do you know what, mate? I think. Sorry, go on.
Besides the seats, though. I mean.
No, beside the seat, yeah. I think first and foremost, get used to riding a bike, get used to, you know, the way it feels and the way it powers up and all that sort of stuff. And once you're happy with the way you ride and you're comfortable with the bike, especially if you're riding for the first time, then start doing things nice and slowly. If you're not going to win the lottery and start doing it all at once, because if you won the lottery, let's be honest, you wouldn't buy a Sportster. But I would anyway. I would, because I love my Sporty. But I think, you know, just do things slowly, man. If you want to upgrade the exhaust. If it comes obviously with stock exhaust on it, you know, buying a sort of a third party exhaust will make it sound a hell of a lot better. Clearly, upgrade your air filter to whatever you want. You know, the big suckers. I've just got a normal K&N round one in there, and it's just as good as the rest. I don't know, just do, you know, superficial things. Don't go mad. I'd say don't go mad like the guy did before me, but you know, just get it how you want it to look and how you want it to sound. And if it takes you a week, 6 months, a year, you'll get there eventually, man. You'll make the bike your own, you know.
Exactly.
And do the work yourself, like you said on your handlebars.
Exactly.
I didn't timeline just right for my Dyna this year. I have a set of handlebars and risers that require some internal wiring to be done, and I'm going to do it myself. But I didn't want to do it as I entered riding season in case I screwed something up and didn't want to be without my bike. So you mentioned a good point earlier as far as, you know, when you're, you know, kind of maybe time it. So, you know, get through your riding season, enjoy the bike, don't worry about upgrading this, that, and the other thing. And then when you get to the off season, that's when you can just, you know, put it up on a jack and let it sit there for a couple of weeks as you're slowly working on it. And then you got the awesome cool thing about Sportsters. And they're 60-something, 70 years old. there's so many parts. If you can imagine the part, it's out there. Someone somewhere has made that part for you.
Yeah. Totally agree. I will say though, if you are doing the upgrades, I mean, something that's so superficial, but it's quite important. Upgrade the light on the front, because if you are doing night riding or stuff like that, and you've just got a basic bog standard light in there, having an LED bulb or an LED full on light, it makes that whole difference. The difference is, it's like literally, excuse the pun, it's like night and day. It really is. And I had a Daymaker headlight in there. I bought one, and it looked a bit, because it looks old school-ish, it looked too new school, if you know what I mean. So I took that out, and I've just put an LED bulb in there, and it's just as bright, and it's literally half the price just for an LED bulb, you know, and it just fits into the slot that's already there. So yeah, definitely upgrade your light, defo.
Yeah. It's a perfect point about the old school, because my brother has a newer Road King that he's trying to keep old school looking. He did the same thing. He upgraded to, I think it was a Rogue Rider one, but the same sort of Hogwarts Daymaker style. And it didn't fit the style of the bike, so he went back to the reflector, threw an LED bulb in it, called it a day. So
exactly, man, exactly. Keep it simple, as they say.
Yeah, there's something about the clean simplicity that makes bikes work. So it's when you start like putting everything that you can buy in the Harley store on your bike, that's when it starts being, all right, you're trying too hard.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're spending every week in the shop buying something else that says Harley-Davidson on it. Come on. I bought myself some Harley-Davidson boxer shorts last week. All right, yeah, sound.
and of course, we all know HD stands for $100, not Harley-Davidson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, correct.
Everything's about the money, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right, folks, looks like we've hit the end of our show. I'd like to thank Scouse Adventures for joining us today. Thank you very much. It was
Thank
a
you.
lot of interesting stories, and of course the things that you've done on the bike, which would help a lot of Sportster owners out there understand their bike as well, and how to ride it the best way that they can. And of course next week, the next episode that we're putting out will actually be a live stream that we'll be putting out, and we're hoping that all of you will come and join us. And Scouse, of course, please, has to be there so that we can riff off and talk about the Sportsters, and with the other Sportster guys there as well.
I'll be there, mate. I'll be there.
It's a discussion, and it's also shout-outs. We've got to follow the tradition of Scouse Adventures to do some shout-outs and introduce people as well, hopefully. And then that will be the show for the next week. So once again, folks, thank you very much. I'm Fletch.
I'm ChopperFett, and as always, I'll catch you on the next dark side, as this is the way. Appreciate you, Scouse. Thanks for joining us, man.
Cheers, guys. Thanks very much.
Thanks,
Ride
Scouse.
safe.